Hello, Internet. So nice to see you. We are here today again for another music theory talk. So, first thing, it's a strange time in the day because our guest comes from down under. Okay, so we need to accommodate incredible time zones. Um, so I don't know how many of you are around right now because again, it's different time in the day than usual. But if you are watching us, say hi in the chat and let me know where you're coming from because I always want to know where you guys are watching from. I already see David from Montana, Russ from Las Vegas. So I think we got the United States cornered now. Great. Okay. But I know there are people from all over the world. So write in the chat where you're coming from because I want to know. Okay. Next, I'm going to introduce our guest. Okay. And you guys may have seen this guest already because he's been here quite a few times now. And it's always a pleasure to have him here. And today he's going to introduce us to the mystic technique of the harp harmonic. Now, again, before I introduce him, let me confess, guys. This live stream exists for one and only reason. It's because I want to learn harp harmonics and I ask the expert. Okay, so really, because it's something that I'm trying to do and I cannot get them right. And every time I see our guests do it, it's like it's magic. So now I want all these secrets. And that's why we're doing the live stream today. I'm glad you're here, but that's for me. Okay. Anyway, before we go on, Anjali, let's go on and let's introduce the guest. Guitar, acoustic guitar extraordinaire, Simon Candy. Which, again,
How are you, Tomato?
Hey, Simon, how's it going?
Very well, thank you. And yourself?
Very good. So,
excellent.
What time is there in Down Under right now?
It's pretty good, actually. It's 10 o'clock Saturday morning, so that's a reasonable hour. You know, beats sort of 4 in the morning, which sometimes, you know, these things run for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's like Friday evening for you, right? So
yeah, it's 6 p.m. for me in Central Time, so Mountain Time, actually.
Pretty reasonable for both of us.
Mm-hmm. We have more people in chiming in the chat. Carl Flynn from Canada. Canada is big, dude. Brian from the Yukon. Okay, and not envying you. That's really cold. Ada from Hong Kong. Nice. Okay, so we have people from literally around the world right now. Okay, including Australia. Okay, Simon.
Yes.
Harp harmonics. Those unknowns. Okay. Get us started because I wouldn't even know exactly what to ask. Maybe could you show us something so we get an idea of the sound? I know you sent me a video and I sent the video to my subscribers, but always good to have an in-video example on what you can do with them, how they sound, etc. So could you
do
the honors here?
I will. Yeah, okay. I'll just do a little brief overview of some of the possibilities for harp harmonics, and then we'll break it down into very small pieces. So don't worry, we'll put a spotlight on what's going on here. But basically, harp harmonics is where you can. It's the combination of harmonic and regular notes, basically alternating, not necessarily strictly alternating, but a nice balance between the two. So, for example, I could have a little chord, and I could run up the chord playing harmonics and regular notes, so you get a really nice harp-like sound, hence the name harp harmonics. And you can play those notes separately, or you can play them together, which is nice. And you can, you know, play harp harmonics throughout a whole progression if you like. So if I took a little chord progression here, and you can, you know, get little arpeggio runs up, and sometimes you get lucky and you get all those harp harmonics. Sometimes you miss a few, but it's a really nice way to play guitar, and it gives you a whole new scope, a whole new sort of spectrum of sound, if you like. And you can take it and you can convert melodies into harp harmonic melodies, if you like. So if I take something like this, right? So, or a Lee there, and it's just, you know, taking a melody and putting some of the notes as harmonics, keeping the other notes regular. But I could play that same melody using like double stops or thirds. That sort of thing. And in fact, they're not thirds, because when you play one of the notes as a harp harmonic, and we'll look at this in detail if you like, it inverts it. So you're actually hearing sixths there, even though I'm...
So you're playing thirds, huh? And the lowest note is an harmonic, so it goes an octave higher, and it sounds like a sixth.
Exactly. So if I have like this, you'd think it's a third looking at my fingers there, but it's actually sounding as...
Yes.
As a sixth.
And could you do the opposite? Could you play the third and the harmonic on the high note so it sounds like a tenth?
So it sounds like a tenth. Yeah. So what do you? So you would. You could. I'm just trying to think. Oh, so the harmonic on the.
Yeah. So you are, if you're playing C and E. Let's see. Let's see. If you're playing C and E, I cannot do the technique, so I cannot do it myself. I'm asking if you can. If you're playing C and E, right now you are making the harmonic on the C and playing the E normally, so it sounds this way.
Yes.
But if you play the C as normal note and do the harmonic on the E, this will sound like a C and the E at the higher octave.
Yes. So you play the C as normal, and you probably could, although I'd need it up there, and then I need the normal C. So that probably gets a little tricky because the harmonic is on the higher note.
Okay, so one of the features of the technical thing of this is that it's easier to do the harmonic on the lower note.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. That is correct.
Fantastic.
Yes. And I'm just thinking...
I overstepped my bounds here. I already went ahead. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. So you'll see when we break the technique down that it's actually quite hard to get the harmonic on the lower note, on the higher note, and then play a lower note as a regular note. So maybe there's some way you could do that. But yeah, not in the natural sort of way of playing. You can also, if I took that same melody or a lead there, you can also sort of incorporate it into a chord melody sort of thing. So both those examples, when I'm playing the melody, it's single line sort of stuff. I mean, I'm harmonizing here, but it's still kind of missing the larger sort of harmony there. But you can sort of incorporate it into chords. So to be something like... pull it out there a little bit, and then maybe... go on. That sort of thing. So you can get a fuller sound with the harp harmonics in a sort of chord melody context there. So that's kind of, basically in a snapshot, some of the possibilities using harp harmonics.
Okay, so before we go and see the nuts and bolts, where did you got this technique? Lenny Bro?
Yeah. Well, originally I had a guitar teacher back in the late 90s, well, from the early 90s actually, but into the late 90s, who was a huge Chet Atkins fan. So I got into a lot of Chet Atkins stuff, and he used harp harmonics. But then, sort of early noughties, discovered Lenny Bro, who just took it to a completely different level. And so a lot of it was inspired by that. And then players today like Tommy Emmanuel is incredible with harp harmonics. He'd be sort of one of the guys today that can just play them, all day. So yeah, players like that, but particularly Lenny Bro, he was sort of a real innovator with a lot of things, but certainly with harp harmonics.
Fantastic. Okay, good. Okay, then if everybody in the chat agrees too, okay, I think we are all there. Now we want to know how it's done. Okay, because sound is wonderful. So everybody in the chat, do you guys want us to proceed to the technical stuff? Say yes in the chat. We're gonna proceed anyway, but say yes in the chat if you want to see
Yeah,
the
no
technical
choice.
part. Simon, where do we
Yes.
start?
Okay, so the basic technique. So we most people will be aware that if we play over the top of the 12th fret with any finger of your fretting hand, and you lightly touch the strings directly over the top of the 12th fret, we get a natural harmonic, right? And the reason why we get a harmonic there as opposed to the 11th fret or the 13th fret is because the 12th fret marks exactly halfway between the nut and the bridge of your guitar, and it forms, gives you the harmonic. I don't know the technical terms there, but gives you the harmonic, the direct halfway point. But when we play the harmonics like so, it's taking both hands to do that, right? So it's limiting. It's nice. We can incorporate that in some ways in our playing, of course, but it is taking both picking and fretting hands to sound the harmonic. So if we just look at the harmonic part of the harp harmonics first. So we want to be able to sound the harmonic with just our picking hand. So we take the index finger of the picking hand and we place it directly over the top of the 12th fret. You're just touching the string directly above the 12th fret. There's no pressure at all. You're not pushing. The string shouldn't move at all because you're not pushing on it in any way whatsoever. You're just touching it with the padding of the tip of your finger, and that's your index finger, and you want to keep that finger nice and straight as you do that. And then with your thumb sitting behind that index finger on the 6th string, you pluck the string with your thumb. So the index finger is above the 12th fret. Your thumb plucks the string to sound the harmonic. So your index and your thumb are like an L shape roughly, and when you move that around so that both the index and the thumb can be on the strings, we pluck the bottom string, the 6th string, so that we can sound that harmonic which is being produced by the index finger on the 12th fret. So we could then just simply work up each of the frets at the 12th fret, each of the strings I should say, and back down, and your thumb is just following along as you move the index finger from one string to the next. Now of course you could do this with thumb and finger, but again we can't do anything else. Once you can do this, and it might take, naturally it's going to feel a little awkward at first, so expect that, but it does become much easier reasonably quickly if you practice it. Just simply sounding the harmonic with index and thumb. Okay. Now, once you can do that, or even just as you start to get that sounding, you realize the possibilities because you think, right, okay, I can sound the harmonic and I've got my fretting hand free. So this means instead of just being limited to open string harmonics, when we're using both hands for the harmonic, we can now play fretted note harmonics. Any note can be converted into a harmonic. And the rule here is you've got to have 12 frets between the fretted note itself, the note you're sounding the harmonic of, and where you're placing your index finger. So we've got that here, 0 frets, we're playing an open string, plus 12 equals the 12th fret. But if I was to fret the 1st fret on the bottom string, that 12th fret won't work anymore because you've shortened the length of the string So the middle point is no longer the 12th fret, it's the 13th fret. So exactly the same technique, index finger directly over the 13th fret, and then using your thumb to pluck the string again. The thumb will just be naturally sitting, you know, a healthy distance behind the index finger, sounding that string. So you can do this with any note on any string. So if I went to the 5th fret of the bottom string, you've just got to add 12, plus 12. So 5 plus 12, 17, go over the 17th fret, and you'll get your harmonic. If you're one short, you won't get it. If you're one too far, you might get a partial harmonic. But the sweet spot is over the 17th fret. And you can do this with any note on any string. I mean, if I take the 3rd fret on the 2nd string, and I want to sound the harmonic of that note, then 3 plus 12 is 15. I'm on the 2nd string, and I'll get, and these are octave harmonics. So you're getting the octave of the note you're fretting. It's sounding one octave higher, okay? Which allows for all sorts of possibilities, which we'll see as we go through this. But that's the first thing to get used to, even just on the open strings. But I mean, it's just really as easy to fret a note and find it. And but one of the things with harp harmonics and harmonics just in general, even if you were just playing the harmonics, is the visualization, because whatever your fingers are doing down here, and sometimes I'll be holding chords and things like that, you've got to visualize that shape one octave higher. So it's like your double dotted fret becomes the nut, and then here's your 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and it does help that, you know, when you think of that as, you know, 0 and then 1, 2, 3, you have mirrored fret markers typically on your guitar. So if that's, you know, 0, then 1, 2, 3's dotted, 4, 5's dotted. So it helps when you're visualizing what you're doing down here by what you're doing up there. So does that make some sense, Tomaso?
So far, so good. And it's important to not underestimate, because it's simple, but simple doesn't mean it's easy. Okay? Because, of course, when you just stay on the 12th fret and you do it, yeah, it's easy. The moment you start putting a chord and then you have to follow around,
Yes.
That's when it's not easy. And so I would recommend everybody, you guys, take this slow and make sure you get a good sound, even just from the, and I just made a mistake, even just from the 12th fret. It's just getting used to do this. Okay. It's already something, and you need to start building from somewhere. The technique later, I'm assuming, but you can tell me, it's all, in general, the techniques are always combination of easier techniques. Okay, and so
Yes.
we, guitar teacher, often insist on very simple exercise, and our students often go like, I know this already. Yeah, you know it. You can probably do it when it's simple, but not when it's complex. So we need to go back to the simple to increase the efficiency and the precision of the technique. So you guys take it easy. I know it looks easy right now, but having tried some other stuff that Simon does, I can tell you it's not going to stay easy for a long time. Okay, so this kind of thing tend to go from, oh yeah, I know that, to that's absolutely impossible. Okay, so I suggest changing both attitude. When it's when you're like, I already know that, think of it as something you have to practice and make it absolutely natural. And when you see something impossible, think of something that you're gonna get once the basic technique is natural. If I'm making sense, okay? But so far so good, Simon. What's the next step?
All right, great. So a couple of finer points on the picking hand that's sounding the harmonic. You want to make sure you keep a good distance between the thumb and the index finger. So if you're trying to sound your harp harmonic and your thumb's, you know, really close to the harmonic, you'll sound it, but it chokes the sound up a little bit. So we want to spread the index and thumb apart, pretty more or less as far as they can go. Not quite. You can probably get it further than what you really need it, but a healthy distance apart. If you just sort of do an L shape with your fingers, like a thumb and finger like that, that'd be about the distance. And then you want to make sure that my fingers are up. They're not flat, trying to pick a harmonic where my fingers are flat. They're up like this. So you can see if I just take my other fingers away there for a moment, it's not totally perpendicular or 90 degrees to the string. It's about 45, the index finger, thereabouts. And the thumb's a little bit more perpendicular to the string. So we don't want to sort of have a collapsed wrist here. We want to have the fingers nice and up when we sound that harmonic. You know, it's just the tip of your finger. And when you sound the harmonic, you don't have to keep, and you shouldn't keep your index finger there. You can take it away. The harmonic will ring through as long as you're fretting whatever it is you're doing down here. So you don't need to keep, if I keep my finger on there, when I pluck it, you'll get the harmonic, but you can hear it's muted. Whereas if I take the finger away, it gives it room to resonate. So that's a couple of finer points in terms of the actual technique of the harmonic. And then, as I was saying before, it's about the visualization of what your fretting hand's doing down here to, finding the harmonic. So the next little step would be working on that and tracking or tracing the harmonics of various chords. So if we were, say, to take an E minor chord, I choose E minor because there's only two options here, either open strings or second fretted notes. So it's a little easier to visualize up here. And what we'd want to do in practicing the harmonic technique is to track or trace that chord with harmonics. So the first note in the chord is open. So I will pluck with the harmonic, with my technique here, the open bottom string. Then the next string, there's a second fretted note in my chord. So I have to add 12, that takes me to the 14th fret. And then I would go to the next string, also 14, because there's the two fretted notes there at the second fret. And then the rest of the chord, of course, is open string. So I'm back at the 12th fret, running up the chord. So I get this when I track the E minor. And I could just come back down. Okay, so that is continuing to work with the harmonic technique, but at the same time, you're also practicing the visualization that's required for this. That takes a little bit of practice too. So might as well form some shapes and practice that at the same time as working with the harmonic. So you could go through any chord with this. So obviously some chords are spread across more frets. So if we were, for example, to take a C chord, now with a C chord, you just start, you've got a third fretted note to begin. So you would be over the 15th fret to sound that one, because you've got to, again, add 12 and you get the octave of the C. And then the next note is down a fret. So you've got to move down to the 14th fret. Then there's an open string in your chord. Then there's a first fretted note in your chord, so that's 13. And then there's the open on top. So you're tracking the C chord there. Visualizing the shape of the C chord like you've got fingers playing it there up at the 12th position. And sometimes with the C, I'll whack the low G in there. I like to put that in there so I can play all 6 strings, if you like. But if you're going to start it from the 5th string, then you just start from the 5th string up here. And you can go through any chord at all. The more the better over time, just to get good at visualizing and continuing to sound a harmonic. The other thing you'll notice pretty shortly, I think, with this technique is your fingers, because you're holding chord shapes typically, particularly when you're practicing it, but also when you're playing it at times, longer than you typically would. So you might find your hand really starts to get a little sore with the fingertips because you're holding this E minor down, or this C, or whatever chord shape it might be, for a longer period than you typically do. So be prepared to feel a little pain, if you like, in the fingertips. But again, that's just part of the development of this technique. So that's fine. You'll get used to that. So that's, okay. Yeah.
Now, everybody in the chat, are we going too fast? Are we going too slow? Give us some feedback so we know what to do. In the meantime, while you guys write and give us some feedback so we know what to do, I'm just noticing right now when I'm doing it that how I've always assumed your hands were very flat on the guitar because I've always seen you do this from the front. Okay.
Yes.
Even if we've been in the same room together, every time you play this, somehow I'm always in the front of you. Okay, so,
Yeah. So
but
it's
now that you mentioned this,
yes.
I can
Yes.
actually use a bit more of the nail of the thumb, and this makes a big difference in
Yes.
the sonority. I mean, of the thing, because before it was like a little. Now I can get.
Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah.
Not even sure if you can hear it through the microphone right now because
You
it's
can hear
pretty
the
quiet.
difference.
But yeah, it's coming through better because I can use more of the nail. It's a strange angle right now, so I probably need to get used to do it. But
yeah, that's it. And I brought that up because I have noticed sometimes people playing with a very flat, this sort of a collapsed hand, but we want to have that up nice and arched above the strings. And the index, looking from my view here, my index is pretty much on a 45.
yeah,
Thumb on a greater angle, almost 90. But up like so. Yeah.
yes,
So up,
yeah, sure.
and then you hear the note coming out more. And if you've got nail, the nail can produce a nice sound. If you don't have nail, that's fine. You're still going to sound the harmonic. If you use a thumb pick, sometimes I'll use a thumb pick for this stuff. It resonates more, but I only use the thumb pick for harp harmonics if it's in a piece that's already using the thumb pick. I won't use the thumb pick for the sake of the harp harmonics. It'll just be within the context of the piece.
We have a question here that is best to field immediately.
Sorry, someone playing in, what is the approximate fret distance between the tip of the forefinger? It would be, I mean, it depends on the size of your hand, but I'm probably about, what would that be, like 8 centimeters, 8 centimeters, 10
Well,
centimeters?
put it this way: when you're doing the open harmonics, so your index finger is on the 12th fret. Your thumb end up being around what fret?
Yeah, it's around. My thumb is around the 17th fret when my index finger is on the 12th. If you just sort of do that with your fingers, finger and thumb, that's the distance. So whatever it is for you when you just do a little L shape like that, you're not going to absolutely stretch the natural, separation between thumb and index finger. That's the distance. But yeah, that's a good point. It's around the 5th, 17th, 18th fret when I'm playing in that position. And then it pretty much, wherever I play, it'll more or less remain that. It doesn't really close up when you move up and down. It'll maintain that.
Okay, good. So far we've seen the harmonics. Those are artificial harmonic, essentially, but natural harmonic first on the 12, and then artificial harmonic or mixed tracking chord shapes.
Yes.
What's the next step?
Okay. So once you get used to that, and you certainly don't have to have that perfect, but you're getting used to sounding the harmonic and you're visualizing shapes as you do so, then because to this point in time, it's just harmonics. We're just sounding harmonics. And that in itself is great. I mean, you could do nothing else here. Just take this on board and you could add a really nice element to your playing by, putting these little things in here and there at the end of the song, running up a chord, whatever you want to do. But the harp part of, the harp harmonic, or the part that then makes it a harp harmonic, is when we alternate harmonic with a regular note just being a fretted note or an open string, a note that's not, we're not sounding the harmonic of. So when I do that, that's where we get the harp sound, right? So we'll just break that down. So if we come back to the 12th fret, so we don't have to do anything with our fretting hand here, we already have covered sounding the harmonic. So that doesn't change. We just pluck the harmonic with index and thumb. And then your ring finger, so this will be your ring finger, your third finger there, that's going to pluck the third string, the open third string. So again, my hands are, my fingers are up on their fingertips. I'm plucking the low string, and then my ring finger is plucking the third string. And when from a starting point, if you were just to get into position to do this, you could have your index and your thumb in position, and you could have that ring finger just resting on the third string. So you're not bringing it from anywhere too far. If it's not resting on the string, it's certainly just above the string. But to get the hand in position and to get these two things working together, I would start with index, thumb, and ring all resting on their strings. So index, thumb on the bottom string, ring finger on the third string, and then you can sound the harmonic, and then you can pluck the third string. So my thumb's plucking down, my ring finger is plucking up to sound the open string. And you could just go back and forth, just to get used to alternating between a harmonic and a regular note. And then you could move to the next string set. So the fifth string harmonic, the open second string. So everything just moves up a string set there. And you can just go back and forth between the harmonic and the regular note. And then we could go to the fourth string and the top. So now 4 and 1 with index, thumb sounding harmonic again, ring finger sounding the top string. And then there's, well, even if you just take it to that point for this, for now, and you then work at playing them back to back. So it's harmonic, bottom string, open third, harmonic fifth string, open second, harmonic fourth string, open first. And then you could come back down. So you're just practicing getting the sound of the harmonic and the regular note. And if it's not sounding completely balanced, maybe your open string, rings over the harmonic too much or whatever, you'll get the control as you get the technique down. Of course, they are going to sound different because one's a harmonic, one's a regular note. So they are going to sound different, of course, but you might find the open string overpowers the harmonic initially, which is normal and fine. So we can move up the strings like that, and we can come back down the strings, and there's all sorts of patterns that you can do, but probably too deep to go into all the patterns that you can do with the harmonics. But the other thing I would then also do here when we're bringing in the natural note, so you practice that and you do that as much as you need to, and that's fine, but then it's sounding the harmonic and the natural note together at the same time, like I was doing here with this sort of stuff, right? So you can take, we'll take the same, we could do any string set here. This is the thing. You can do any combination of pattern, just like you can with strumming, finger picking, etc. So we could take the same strings, the bottom and the third string. So remember I said have the index and thumb and ring finger all on their strings ready to go, and you'll need to do it here because you're going to sound them at the same time. And you'll hear the nice sound you get with the harmonic and the open string. Okay, so obviously you need all fingers in place, thumb, index, ring, to sound them. And when I do that, I find that this might not always happen. I'm just realizing sort of now that once I sort of follow through with that motion, my thumb and my ring finger sort of come together because the thumb's plucking down, the ring finger's plucking up. If that doesn't happen for you, that's okay, but that's kind of what's happening mostly for me. And then you would go up the string set. So running up and back down. And the thing with this, here's the thing with with harmonics. It's a really great sound, of course. It's a beautiful sound, but it also allows you to do things that are either not really possible with regular notes or very awkward. And I'll just give you two examples here so you hopefully can sort of illustrate my point here. So if I was to hold a chord shape here and play notes together like that, and what I'm doing is playing a harmonic in 2 fretted notes, so you can certainly add more notes to your harmonic. If I was to do that with regular notes, then I'm having to do this. That's how I have to do it in, yeah. It's
okay. Slow down, because I think this we passed us. Okay. What exactly? I mean, are you just holding a bar at the 5th fret first of all?
Okay, so yeah, here I'm just holding like it's not so much what I'm doing here exactly. The example's sort of not that important. It's just the point that to do the sound you get with harp harmonics are a very unique way of voicing stuff. Because if you're trying to do, so for example, if I'm playing this little chord shape on the top 3 strings here, I've got my harmonic on the 3rd string, and then I've got regular notes on strings 2 and 3. If I tried to play that as a fretted chord, I'd have to play it like this. Okay, because that C note is being placed up and off, so it becomes very difficult to play and doesn't sound as good anyway. I mean, there's nothing wrong with this, but here we get it with the harmonic, and it's much easier because we don't have to move our hand at all to sound all these little chords. To try and play them as regular fretted notes, all combination of chord voice.
Okay, so wait, because I want to dissect this example just a moment. Just this chord here. So this chord would be E, B, and C.
Yeah.
Okay, and you are playing it instead with the open strings?
I'm playing it with, okay, so I'm fretting the 5th fret, top 3 strings.
Okay.
And then my pinky, you could use your 3rd pinky, on the 7th fret.
Okay.
So then when you do the harmonic on the C note, so this is at the 5th fret, so we go up to the 7th. If we just play the notes individually, you've got the C, and then the top 2 strings are just the fretted notes, E and B. E and B. So you've got C, E, B. And here you've got C, E, B. Of course, not in adjacent strings, because this harmonic, playing the harmonic here, pops the note above. So it's kind of a little strange at first, because even though the harmonic is lowest note in the chord here, in terms of the strings, it's the highest note sounding in the chord.
Yep.
Okay, so
and so mechanically speaking, you're doing the harmonic with the index finger and the thumb like before.
Correct. Yep.
And you're picking the 2 string with the middle and the ring.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
So yes, that's correct. So I've got 2 fretted notes, which are the 2 notes on the top string, and my index finger and thumb and harmonic.
Okay.
So that's more.
It's a bit of a finger jumble when you pick all of these, because they're all coming together.
Yes. So that example there was more to illustrate. I mean, that's jumping up from what we're doing here, sounding 2 notes with a harmonic, etc. It's the same technique. There's nothing different technically there, apart from bringing in an additional finger to sound an additional fretted note. But the point there was just to illustrate, that not only is it a cool sound, it also gives you voicings on the guitar that are very hard to do, a lot of the time, very hard to do as fretted notes. And
well, you see, that's the thing, is coincidentally, that voice is one of my favorite chords. This kind of voicing here, I rediscovered them last year reading a few Baroque manuals for harpsichord, And they use
Okay.
this all the time. And I was like, I want to do this on the guitar because they get all those all those chords like that. That's an E minor. Then there is this chord like this. Then I have a D, and pretty much the same voicing as you have. Then a B, and then after this, we'll do C, another voicing like that, B, E minor. So they have all these kind of chords where they have the root, the fifth, and the sixth, and they eliminate the third, and they sound wonderful. And you can do a lot of things. They have a whole theory on how to modulate with those chords.
So you could, I mean, I'm sure you could, yeah, it would take time, but you could work out that an arrangement like that.
Exactly.
Harmonics,
exactly.
you know. So, I did a thing with Beret E minor harp harmonics, which, yeah, I love sort of going, okay, can I do that with harp harmonics? You know, is basically a question I ask myself often. And so if I remember, this went, hang on. That type of thing, right? So that's just taking them. And you can hear that it gives you a whole new world of sound. So if you were to arrange something on a larger scope there, you could start with harmonics and then come in with regular notes, and it just builds and gives you, widens your dynamic range, basically, on the instrument. And I should say, even though you're demonstrating this here, Tommaso, it's as much a technique for electric guitar as it is acoustic. It's not specific to acoustic guitar. There's plenty of examples out there with it on electric, clean sound typically, but you know, you can try anything. But yeah, there's just so you can do it. Yeah, you could apply them to.
I'm actually thinking that it's probably easier on the electric because we can use compression. We use compression all the. I mean, I don't have compression on right now, but with a little bit of compression, they can jump out even a little bit more. So yes. It's maybe cheating, yeah, honestly, no. But hey, so it's more typical as a sound for acoustic guitar, that's for sure. But this shouldn't stop anybody ever.
I think on electric, yeah, you get really nice resonation on you know, the notes resonating on a nice clean tone would sound great. I mean, I have played them on electric before, but I play more acoustic, so typically more on an acoustic level. But it's, yeah, it just opens up the sound. And another, just an example here of just the range you can get without even moving your fretting hand. So this, I can just run through this reasonably briefly. It's more to, again, illustrate possibilities with harp harmonics, not the exact example here. But if I fret my, let's say, 7th fret, and I play, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use my index, my middle, and my ring fingers. So the thumb's out for the moment, and I simply pluck 6, 5, 4, those strings, 6, 5, 4. And then my thumb comes in and plays a harmonic at the 19th fret, so all the harmonics will be at the 19th fret here because we're fretting the 7th fret. You might want to give your finger a little rest for a moment because, again, it's holding this shape for a while. That will also give you a bit of grief in the early stages. So I'm plucking each of those 6, 5, 4. Then I have this harmonic pattern, harp harmonic pattern, which is playing the thumb and the ring fingers are alternating here, and we're playing strings 6 to 3. Then 5 to 2, and then 4 to 1. Again, you can just sort of rest your finger here, and then re-fret the shape. So I've gone 6, 5, 4, 6, 3, 4, 2, 5, 2, 4, 1. And then on the top, just the harmonics of the top 3 strings at the 19th fret again. So you start with 3 natural notes with index, what have I got? Index, middle, ring, and then I've got 6, 3, 5, 2, 4, 1, and then 3, 2, 1. So I've run, that's as much range as I can get without moving my hand there. And altogether it sounds like, and I could come back down. Okay, now if I want to do the same thing with fretted notes, it would be this. So you can see all the hand movement needed to, but I can get that without even moving my hand. So we get such range, and we're able to do it in a very fluent way because it's super efficient. There's nothing to do with your fretting hand once it's down. And you can do little trills and things and all sorts of stuff. But it's just to give you an idea of not only the cool sound you get with harp harmonics, but the possibilities or the things that become possible that are, yeah, there's obviously nothing wrong with playing the chords as we see them and so forth, but it's just more work. And, you know, I'm not saying don't do that, of course, but it just shows you some of the benefits of the harp harmonics in addition to just them being a really cool sound. So you've got the tracking of the chord, visualizing, that's an aspect that takes a little bit of practice. The other thing is practicing, depending where you are with your playing, you kind of want to do this anyway, but you don't really want to be a slave to having to look at your hands moving, because this is, most of your focus is going to be here. So there's a little bit of, you know, when I play, I will, when depends what I'm doing, but when necessary, I will take little looks at my fretting hand. Of course, there's no cheating there, you've got to do that, but you want to be pretty independent of it and not have to really, you know, focus on this hand, because it's much harder. If you're going to look at one hand, it's this one. That's much harder to do than, you know, taking your focus away from your fretting hand. So you got the harmonics, you're tracking the chords, you're adding in the alternating of the harmonic and the regular notes. And the next little step I would do there is just take that open string harp harmonic pattern and apply it to, let's say we applied that to our E minor chord before. So you play that pattern, but of course your index finger's got to track the chord. So when you do the string combination of 6, 3, that's done at the 12th fret, because the note you're sounding in the chord as a harmonic is the open string. But when you go to the 5, 2 combination, you've got to move up to the 14th fret, because the note you're playing as a harmonic is the B note, and you're actually getting 2 B notes there in the same octave. Okay, so you'll certainly find out if you're in tune or not. And then you move to the next string set for 1, and then you could come back down. So you got, or if you wanted, you could, there's all sorts of possibilities. So could you do string set 6 and 4 for sure? You could do what we got, 6, 4, 5, 3. You could do 4, 2, and you could do 3, 1. So it gives you a little bit more harmonic. All sorts of possibilities. You could pluck them together. You could pluck going up, harmonic coming down. So any sort of combination is valid, and you could take it to other chords. So the open chords typically, obviously, are going to be easier to fret and, you know, hold down perhaps. But a lot of harmonic stuff, if you look at a lot of the guys that do this, it's going to be a lot of sort of barred single fret chords, because it makes it easy to track the chord. It also sounds really nice. You're basically sort of playing in, well, yeah. whatever we are there. I don't know all the intervals that are happening there off the top of my head, but typically there's sort of these sorts of things. Sort of chords that are, you know, either in a fret or 2 frets apart. A lot of them are barred and so forth, but it's fair game on any chord at all. And the open chords are great. And there's just all these possibilities that you can do, and you can put them in. You know, you can do a whole progression with harp harmonics. You can play a progression, finish on your last chord, and just ring out on some harp harmonics if you want to, if we're on an E minor or whatever it might be. So it's taking the pattern and then applying it to some chord shapes, and you know, so you're doing what you're doing before, tracking the chord, but layering in the regular note. But you won't necessarily go up the chord as far. If your pattern's that, then you're going to come back down. Your harmonics are only on the lower 3 strings, but you could continue up the chord with just the harmonics. Anything's possible. Any pattern is valid.
I think I'm speaking for the whole people in the audience if I say, wow. That's really good. I don't know if you guys know, let me come here, but I don't know if you guys know Simon also gives lessons. I mean, let me. And Simon, I know you have something for us exactly regarding that. And I was thinking just a moment ago, I'm letting you explain these, but as soon as I close these live stream later, I'm gonna go on your website and grab it for myself. Okay. So I'm letting you guys hearing what Simon has for you, and I'm gonna put it in on top. I need to find, yeah, there we go.
Sure. So this is an ebook / video. So most of my ebooks are audio. This one's video because it's a technique you really need to see, right? So that's why it's got embedded video of all the examples. And basically, as the title suggests, it's 5 chord progressions and incorporating harp harmonics into the chord progression in different ways. Sometimes the chord progression, it'll be the whole chord progression where I'm applying harmonics to each chord in the progression. Sometimes it'll be 1 or 2 of them maybe will be the last chord in the progression or the last couple of chords. Initially, in the start of the book, it will break down the technique like we have here today to a point. So you see some patterns that are, you know, some common patterns. While you can do anything with harp harmonics, there are a couple of very common patterns, like anything. I mean, you could fingerpick any pattern, you could strum any pattern, but there always tends to be the same 3 or 4 basic patterns you come to again and again. And that's the same with harp harmonics. So it makes it, you know, a little easier when you realize that and you've got the technique going. So a little bit on the technique in this book and then into the examples. What I would say is pick some, there's no order or anything like a specific order you got to do. Pick something. If you look at one and it seems a little difficult, look at the next one and take some of the things we've covered here today. Like you could take the chord progression and just play it with harmonics. Even though I don't do that in the book, you can go, well, that's a good way to sort of break it down and get this going. So you could certainly do that. But it will take you through 5 examples of applying harmonics, or harp harmonics, I should say, to some chord progressions. And as I said, each example, there's an embedded video. Click on that, it'll take you to a web page. And there will be a video of me just playing the example so you can see it as well, because it's a very visual thing. Hence why I've included video in that particular ebook. So you can grab that for free at that address.
Yep, it's completely free. Now, before we even go ahead, for me, mind blown. I didn't even realize harp harmonics were a mix of harmonics and normal notes before that. Mm-hmm. I mean, now that you mention it, I can hear it. Before I was like, what the heck is he doing? What? It's too many notes. I cannot follow. I cannot find my bearings. I mean, I have a fairly good ear, but there was something completely off that I couldn't pinpoint. now I know what it is. The octaves were all off from what I was expecting. So amazing, just amazing. I'm gonna show one thing for you guys too, since this could be helpful to you guys since you're doing these harp harmonics, because you need to know where the notes are on your fretboard to do that. Essentially, I mean, there's the trick of going 12 frets higher. It's great, but the more reference points you have on your fretboard, the easier it is. Okay, and so if you can spell that you are playing a C here and you're going here to play your C on the higher octave, if you know your notes, it's just easier, in my opinion. But I mean, you can go for just 12 frets higher. You can go in many different ways. Still, knowing your notes on the fretboard really help on everything. This ebook, this ebook here is an ebook plus video I published recently. Okay, completely free, and this teaches you how to learn all the notes over all the fretboards so that you can learn them permanently. Do it once in your life, problem solved. Okay, it requires you to practice for 5 minutes a day for a few weeks, and then problem solved. You know where all the notes are on the fretboard forever. Then nobody can take this away from you ever anymore. So, and you'll find at this link below, completely free. So let's get Simon back in. There we go. Simon, thank you.
You're very welcome. Just before you wrap up, that I don't think I can add to the chat here, but if I send you a link and maybe you can add it to the chat, this is just a YouTube video I have which will kind of break it down a little. Like it'll be more on the technique before you apply it to stuff. So if you want to check out a YouTube video that I've done on Harp Harmonics, and it gets you sort of, it will give you a good foundation to then look at stuff in the book. So you can check that out if you like. Thanks, Tommaso.
And Simon, once we finish here, when the comments become available, if you want to put that link in the comments of the video.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Okay. Because you have the link. I don't know if they can become available immediately or later, but just reload the page later today for you and just post write that's the video with the example, etc., and just put it in there. Okay, I'll be sure to pin it so it stays on top of the comment section.
Sure. Yep. Great. I'll do that.
So, guys, if you like this, go on the chat and say thank you to Simon. Thank you, Simon, because that's I know what I'm gonna do tonight.
Get your evening sorted.
After dinner, once the kids are in bed, I have a date with the guitar to get this down, because the possibilities are fantastic.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, it just opens up the whole range, and just you can, you don't even need the frets. If I was, for example, if I had like, let's see, I'm going to get really high here. So if I had something like a little chord here, and you think add 12 frets, you're out of frets, but you don't need the frets. They're just a visual marker. You just need to find the middle point of the string. So if I've got this little C chord, there it is. Right? So you get into the higher register of the piano there, right? The higher keys. So it just keeps expanding the possibilities that you have as you go. So that's you don't need the frets necessarily. It's just easier when you've got frets as a visual marker.
Yeah, no, yeah. The important point is to hit the string at the halfway point.
Exactly.
Okay,
yes.
And due to the way a guitar fretboard is built, when you add 12 frets, you're always at the halfway point. If you're here at 12 frets, you're at the halfway point. If you're here at 12 frets, you're at the halfway point, and so on and so forth. But the frets are just a reference. If you are up here, you can still think, where is the halfway point? It's pretty much around here. Of course, it starts to become harder to hear. It's here. It's here, but it's just way too short. We need to go. I need to start from here. It's also the first string. Yeah. Come also trying to find what is the best pickup for that. Because the Strat as the one thing for electric guitar players, the Strat has this pickup here exactly on the 24th fret, where the 24th fret will be, which means that okay, it's good as a reference point, but also occasionally it's in the wrong spot to get some harmonics. I mean, it's better when sometimes it's better to just use the bridge pickup that picks up more harmonics, but then it depends. So on an acoustic, you don't have this problem because the bridge picks up everything by definition. Okay, the bridge picks up every single frequency, but we don't have a pickup exactly on the bridge. We have something close. So anyway, on an electric guitar, guys, you may have some dead spot for the harmonics. Switch the pickup so the dead spots change, and then you can play. But beside that, that's a great technique. I need to sit down and figure it out. And if I could not do it right now, it's because I haven't figured it out yet. But I need to sit down and figure it out. Fantastic. Well, thank to everybody who was here today, all the people in the chat, all the people who wrote in the chat. Okay, and especially thanks, Simon.
You're very welcome.
That's fantastic.
Thank you for having me.
Just fantastic. I'm gonna sit down and do that.
Excellent. Thank you.
Can't wait to have you again in future. I know we have something else in future. I know know I'm in your live stream in future, but I don't know when. But
yes,
but yeah,
I'm sure that it'll be coming up soon. I'll look forward to that too.
And yeah, so it's always nice. So, and we're also meeting in person in a couple of months now. So
yes,
so
indeed,
I need to sit down and work. No.
Get your Harp Harmonic chops up.
Totally. Okay. Fantastic. Thank you, everybody. That was great.
Yes.
Guys, have a nice day. Practice these, and until next time, enjoy.